God, where do you start? Let's go to the UN. Maybe we should mention his teleprompter wasn't working.
He's also in a bad mood because the escalator to get up into the United Nations, he stood on it and it stopped working. Now, some people might think, well, I might want to lay off the burgers. But he seemed to think it was a deliberate plot against him. And then, the teleprompter.
But then the teleprompter didn't work. And now I'm thinking maybe he's right. Maybe the tech people at the UN just went, let's just play with him a little, shall we? Anyhow, this is a little bit of Donald Trump.
I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion.
The thing about Donald Trump at the UN is, I know lots of people the last 24 hours have been very exercised by this. Honestly, a lot of it washed over me because I'm trying, as we come to the end of the first year of this 4-year sentence that we all must serve, I'm trying to separate out the really heinous, obscene, long-term things that he's doing from the daily cavalcade of gibberish that is Donald Trump. So, I mean, who is surprised that Donald Trump turned up at the UN, hurled abuse at the leaders of the world, complained about the escalator and the teleprompter, and you never thanked me for all the wars I started. He's meant to be the most powerful man in the world. And also, aside from the office of president, Donald Trump himself styles himself as powerful and successful. If he's so powerful and successful, why does he spend so much of his time like a whiny little brat? He whines like a teenager all the time. It's like you live in a gold-encrusted palace, which is what you've turned the Oval Office into. You are the president of the United States. What else could happen to make you happier?
Full acquiescence from every person on the planet.
Well, it's funny you say that, because not only did he, I mean, for example, he just randomly announced that apparently they're introducing Sharia law in London, which was news to everyone who lives in London, because it's not true. It's just a thing he read on his phone at 1 o'clock in the morning. He announced at Charlie Kirk's memorial service that he trailed that he had a big announcement on autism. Because that's what you do at a memorial service. You try to boost the ratings for your next news conference. And what it was that he and his anti-vax health secretary were going to falsely claim that paracetamol somehow triggers autism if pregnant women take it during pregnancy, which, again, we should just stress from the beginning is absolute nonsense.
Let's have a listen to some of that press conference.
First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good.
Paracetamol is broadly the only pain-killing drug that pregnant women are told they can take safely. Yes. So there's also this argument that, are you saying that pregnant women should just endure pain for the whole of their pregnancy with no pain relief? Because that doesn't sound particularly female-friendly for a politician to be saying that. But there is also the fact that it's not true.
Yeah.
I mean,
and every medical body almost around the world has come out, including one of the top American medical institutions, has come out and gone, no, this isn't right. It's not correct. Please fire RFK, because you can't be saying these things. Yes, every Australian medical body has said the same thing.
And this is what happens when you appoint as the head of your health operation an anti-vax crank. A guy who thinks that good vibes and vitamins are going to do the same kind of things that actual vaccines do. This stuff has consequences. You tell people, we saw this in the MMR scare, you tell people that something is linked to autism, people are going to get scared and stop using it. The consequence of that being that there are going to be more pregnant women now who are enduring pain in pregnancy when they could take a painkiller. But apparently, Dr. Kildare here has decided that that's not okay, and you mustn't do it. And again, when the guy in charge of your health department is an anti-vaxxer who is in the process, as the Northern Hemisphere winter approaches, of making it very, very difficult for people to get COVID shots, that has real-world consequences. When you tell people they don't need vaccines, some people will believe you, even though the rest of us are letting off air horns and going, no, this is wrong. Please, God, please don't do this. Please get vaccinated. It does have consequences.
Is this also, and this is not my theory, this is one that's been put out, is that we live in a world where we actually haven't had a whole lot of these diseases be prevalent. So we haven't seen the numbers of people die from measles, from mumps, from chickenpox, from polio. So it's seen as, well, they were never that bad to start off with. And unfortunately for some people, it's only seeing that is believing.
Yeah, we weren't around for the period when routinely families would lose young children to one of these diseases. This happened all the time.
Go to an old graveyard, have a walk around. You'll find a lot of children's graves.
But it hasn't. The measles vaccine came in 1968. MMR came in the 90s. It was broadly on the path to being eliminated worldwide. Until these sort of anti-vax lunatics decided that for some reason we could take a gamble on it. Well, we are going to find out what happens when you take a gamble on it. And as if all of that weren't bad enough, Donald Trump is still pressing on with his grand plan to eliminate the First Amendment. Loves the Second Amendment.
Yeah, it's cracker. First
would like
Amendment,
to get
not so
straight to it by getting rid of the First Amendment, if at all possible. That being the one on free speech. Not a fan. Not a fan of free, which is weird because in January when he was inaugurated, he said he would immediately stop all government censorship and never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents. Oh, hang on, there's a bit. Unless someone tells a joke about him that he doesn't like.
Or he just doesn't like it. Jimmy Kimmel is back, however, after probably a week and a bit being suspended.
When you have got people like Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Joe Rogan, for example, who has also come out against this, when you have people who are firmly on the right, firmly in Donald Trump's camp, saying this is ridiculous, this is going too far. It's worth remembering, you say, look, Jimmy Kimmel did make a mistake in that monologue because he talked about the alleged killer of Charlie Kirk being part of the MAGA movement. At that point, we didn't know much about him.
Yeah.
I think, broadly, those of us who sit in studios like this, you shouldn't really speculate on the motives of somebody involved in a serious crime when you don't know what they are. Which apparently he was planning to address that in his monologue the next day had he not been taken off the air. But the bit that really seems to have annoyed them is that he had to go at Trump and the MAGA movement for exploiting Kirk's killing as a way of ratcheting up the pressure on the media, ratcheting up the pressure on their political opponents, which they have done. Look at the way they got rid of Kimmel. They didn't actually ring ABC in America and say, take him off the air. They said, the affiliates need to do this. Brendan Carr, who's the head of the FCC, which regulates broadcasting in America, went on and said, we could do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way, because he thought he was in some sort of Amdram production of Goodfellas. And then two of the companies that own lots of local TV stations in America said, we're taking him off the air. By complete coincidence, one of those two needs FCC approval for a multi-billion-dollar merger that would put them in twice as many homes as they are in now. But I'm sure that's a complete coincidence. Similarly, I'm sure it's a complete coincidence that that company is still refusing to air Kimmel today. This isn't an isolated incident. You mentioned Stephen Colbert, whose show was cancelled a couple of months ago. CBS, the network that he's on, its parent company, Paramount, paid Trump a $16 million bribe, after which its merger was approved.
Was he suing them for? I get confused about who he's suing them
for editing an interview with Kamala Harris. He was suing ABC before for an interview that he didn't like. He's suing the Wall Street Journal for claiming there was a lascivious drawing that Trump did for Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book, which it then turned out they did. He has slashed funding to NPR, PBS, basically the American equivalents of the ABC. Yep. He has slashed funding to Voice of America, the international operation. He threw the Associated Press out of the White House.
Threw the ABC out of it.
Because they wouldn't say Gulf of America. I don't know how many more things he has to do before we acknowledge that Trump is a dollar store despot who wants no criticism. He said on his flight back from the UK last week, TV networks, broadcast networks who air criticism of him should lose their licenses. Now, this is Viktor Orban in Hungary. It's Vladimir Putin in Russia. It's Erdogan in Turkey. There's a crime in Turkey of insulting the president. In all three of those countries, you see there a more advanced version of what's beginning to happen in America. Journalists start finding themselves losing their jobs. In some cases, laws are brought in to restrict what they can and can't say, or they're not allowed to be mean about politicians. In Russia, journalists get killed. So I know people will probably say, oh, you're overreacting, Paul. That's not what we're talking about. He is going for all the people you would go for if you wanted to eliminate ways of opposing his administration. He's gone for journalists, he's gone for academics, he's gone for comedians, he's gone for judges, he's gone for elected officials, he's gone for public officials. And if you are sitting there in America thinking, he's not going to come for me, he is, you know. One day, when all the others have gone, he'll come for you too. And you know who you would need to stop that? The journalists, the elected officials, the courts, the people he is in the process of knocking the legs out from under now are the people you are going to need when it's your rights he's going for. As
a democracy, as an Australian democracy, we do need to keep a close eye on it because it's giving you an insight, I think. It's giving all of us an insight into the fragility of what we think is solid and just how easily these things can be undermined.
Every government of whatever political complexion in every country hassles journalists and broadcasters. Yes. I used to get phone calls every day when there was an election in the UK from people complaining about this word or that word, or why'd you put their story above our story, and all those kind of things. And all you can do is follow the rules, follow impartiality, stick to the facts, tell every side of the story. But at its worst, at the points at which, for example, the federal government here has said, we're going to cut the ABC's budget because we don't like what the ABC is doing. No one ever suggested, and we're going to make it illegal. We're going to make it illegal to talk to our critics. We're going to make it illegal to question or criticize. And God forbid you tell a joke about the person in power because they'll come for you. That never happened. But what this shows is it's perhaps not as cast in stone, those protections, as you might have thought.
Yep, exactly. And it's a constant fight. It's a never-ending fight. You think it's okay? It's not. Your rights are always something you will fight for.
I'm acutely aware that in conversations like this, you can sound like, oh, you journalists, you think you're so important.
No.
But it's we get to keep an eye on what the people who have power over your lives are doing in a way that you don't. I don't mean that in an arrogant sense. I mean that you don't get to go and talk to the people who run cities and towns and governments day in, day out, and we do. And we don't do that because we enjoy shouting at people or having arguments. It is genuinely a public service. And it is one that will probably infuriate you when a guy you like is getting a tough question, or a guy you don't like is, you feel, getting a softer serve question. but my God, you will miss it when it's not there.
Yep.
You will really miss it when El Presidente or El Prime Minister gets to do whatever he wants, and you turn on the telly at night and there's a guy standing there smiling going, what a great thing our glorious leader did today. Aren't we lucky to live in the greatest country in the world?
Yep. And it can happen faster than you think. Paul Osborne, thank you so much for coming in this evening.
See, a little ray of sunshine.
Little ray of sunshine report. That's what I'm going to rename it.
Eye on happiness, I am.
Yeah, that's it.
Who wouldn't be happy living at a time like this?
Exactly.
What a time it is
Exactly.
to be alive.